40 chess. Yeah. 40 chess. 40 chess. Let's get it.
Yo, is that Tito?
40 chess. 40 chess. Hey. 40 chess. This a trade show. Patreon where the trades go. Tap in and watch. That's what you came for. Ain't gotta say my name. They know my name, bro.
What's good, man?
We got McNutted in ATM. Always start off the show with a trade from them. You should always make sure that your trade is in. Patreon, why not be a Patreon? Know you wish you could spend every day with them. Tap in and say what you gon' say with them. South Harmon can fill up a stadium. Next time you log in, make sure that you bring a friend. We about to kick off, let the day begin. Go follow the socials. 40 Chess FF is posted. If your trade is an F, you get roasted. Go like and subscribe for the crew. Apple, Spotify, and the YouTube. You know Cooper got the warp too. Let us give you a walkthrough. 40 Chess. This is 40 Chess.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back into the Dynasty Trade Show. So glad you could join us. Back again. Trades. Middle part of the season, I guess, if you really want to talk about it, I guess, until week, 15 playoff starts. So
yeah,
we're getting there. A third of the way.
Basically, once you're a little underway and it feels a little more normal that football's back, it's the middle, you know?
It's the middle.
Just you kind of feel out of body, you know, that first few weeks when you're like, you've been waiting so long and you get a whole day of it. It's like, man.
Hell yeah. Well, reminder, if you want your deals featured, patreon.com/South Harmon. $5 gets you access to the Trade Show channel, plus a bunch of other really good shit. So if you're not signed up for the Patreon, go do it. What are you waiting for? No time like today.
No time like
right
today.
now.
No time like Saturday to get into the Patreon. We just had a new patron today. We got some new trades today. And like you said, if you want them featured, that's where you do that. If you could, just go down, hit the like, and subscribe for us. If you don't want to do that, make sure you check out the Warp tool. Something Koopa's been bringing to the people. But, Mike, let's start out with one of mine here today. And let me see what you think of my trade today.
I want to see it.
All right. I talked a little about A-Chain after his first week of blow-up, and then I changed my tune, man. Lineup start 9, 12-team Superflex.
Welcome to the show.
Well, PPR and half PPR doesn't make too much sense. But either way, it's a half PPR league.
PPR, half PPR.
Nice. That'd be awesome. This is just a half PPR. The screen is incorrect, but start 9 lineup league, Mike. I'm roster constructed appropriately, man. And when I say that, what that means is I have great receivers, great quarterbacks, and absolute turds at running back. Last week I had to start Roshan, and to be honest, I can't even remember. Justice Hill. It was rough. It feels so out of body for me compared to last year, putting in those running backs with no one else. But it feels good when you have those running backs and you're winning. So I'm 4-0 in that league. And I'm like, you know what, man? This other first isn't mine. I have in my back pocket, right? So I'm not even – 1, I'm already 4-0. But 2, I don't have to really lose my flexibility here. And I can send a second along with it. This is – it feels – man, from where A-Chain was, it feels like it's paying more than I want to in a lineup league. But I think you have to buy high now if you're going to buy it all.
Yeah. Lineup start 9 too. Like you're looking for hammers, right? Like we're a little hesitant to set first for him in lineup leagues, but at this point, if this is what you're missing, this is also kind of why you're saving these first. And you're going to make a bet right now, and the way he's playing right now, there's not too many running backs out there that you would, we kind of talked about it on the Start Sit show on Sunday, right? Where we're like, how many running backs would you start over A-Chain? And the list is getting smaller every single week, Adam. Now what are we down to, like 3?
Yeah, I think now the question is, what players in general would you play ahead of A-Chain weekly? Like if you have A-Chain, I don't care if you're starting 5, 9, 15. Like there's no way you're looking to sit him. So Duke can go off at any time. I think, Mike, too, one of the things is when I about him specifically. Okay, so if I built strongly, right? So if you built wide receivers very high and you built your quarterbacks very high. So in this league, I have Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. I have Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp sitting on the bench, but I have Aiyuk. I have very good receivers and very good quarterbacks. I also have Kelce. So I'm sitting there thinking, like, I don't even really need a floor play at running back, right? Because I just won with 2 and 3 in my.
Yeah, you need a hammer.
But if I get all those guys and then I have A-Chain going off, that's going to be tough to beat me on those weeks. So I almost feel like he's even more of a fit to what I'm trying to do. Like if he gets 12 touches one week and doesn't actually pop one, I'm fine. But if he goes for one of these 40, 50 burgers, like good luck beating me that week, right?
First and a second, I mean, it's no slouch of a pick to draft capital to spend on a running back, especially for one that, wasn't Saquon Barkley, CMC, Breece Hall, like those kind of guys. I'm all in on this one, though. Like, this is a smart move by you. And conversely, for Mr. I want to shit on you. Welcome to the shit show. Glad you're here today. Like, if you're rebuilding, like, you need to get Achane off your roster. Like, you need to. He's hurting your potential points. He's hurting your ability to tank. You get a first and a second back at him. I'm cool with it, even if it's like a late one and I'm selling it to a contender. Like, I just need this off, and let me just get the first, and hopefully I can hit later.
Yeah.
Looking at the league simulator, it's kind of like a middle of the pack one.
I was just
even better to kind of bet on. Like, I'm good with it. I think it was a good deal for both parties. Like, I think you guys did perfectly fine.
Yes, so I think, man, it's funny. So you hit on two things, not being in the league, that are very big. So one, Kyle, I want to shit on you, and my brother-in-law, Chris, they are in a true tank-off. Like, this is a Sunday, hey, are you really going to sit this guy type thing in league chat? Like, they are out here tanking. Both of them equally bad, right? But Kyle is a Finns fan, so he didn't want to get off of Achane. But when you have Achane in your lineup and you're going up against another tanker, you might be the one that wins. So
in the start 9, he might be the one who actually wins the entire week.
Right. I mean, you get 50 points in a lineup start 9. That's huge. Yeah. Now, the other thing is about that first, Mike, this is the only hesitation I do have. Now, I just gave you all the reasons why I did it anyway. Gleaton, I do know that he's not going to be top 2. I don't think he's even going to be top 3. So that's the one reason I'm okay with it. But, man, it does feel like this pick could end up being a non-playoff team. It has a chance to be a non-playoff team. It has a chance to be a playoff team. So, like, I think realistically this could be a 104 to 109 type pick.
No, it's a home league, man. Just go win the fucking league. Who gives a shit?
It's time to stop pussyfooting around and go win, man. That's why I did it. So it's gone. Bye.
Establish your fantasy analyst, right? It's the home leagues that I always suck into.
You know what?
Those are the ones I should dominate.
Kyle, when I sent Kyle this offer, he says, "Wait, you're trying to win this year?" No, I want to watch everybody else win again. So, that's why I sent it, man. All right, let's get to yours. Shitball. McNutted is getting Drake London and Kyron Williams. How the tables have turned. Tony Pollard. Now, this is a Superflex PPR half tight and premium best ball start 11.
Right.
I fucking love this trade.
Drake London and Kyron for Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard's nice, but he's a Dallas running back that's getting way too many touches, in my opinion. And you've seen his efficiency kind of tank, and it's not like the Tony Pollard we had last year. He's doing it on volume, which is, what you want from your running backs, unless your running back's, 205 pounds, and you're going, this is kind of scaring the shit out of me, man. So if I can get off of that kind for Drake London, like, I was pretty much just like, I'll do it 1 for 1. Even though points per game wise, Tony Pollard is probably the more beneficial one, even in best ball.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, well, definitely points per game wise, it's Tony Pollard. But if you're not looking
Kyron
to go for
Williams,
sure, Kyron puts this way over the top, dude.
Yeah, the Kyron Williams thing sold it for me, where it was like, okay, this is easy. I get to go down 2-3 tiers, whatever the hell you want to say, at running back. But points per game wise, as long as Kyron's getting the same exact workload, also not a big back, but also one that I don't have a whole lot of dynasty value wrapped up into. Like, this is I get something similar production wise at running back, and I just add on a young wide receiver with dynasty value. Now, would I prefer to also then move Drake London for actual production since I'm trying to compete? Yeah, but that's a move. Yeah, that's a move, down the road, hopefully. Come on, Drake, give me a 2-tutty game so I can trade your ass too.
But you know what's crazy though about this? This is, you see that little crown I designed for the kid? Like that. That's why he got this name, okay? Because what's amazing is when people ask what the teardown is, a lot of times I struggle to give them an answer that's defined enough, because I feel like when we answer it just generically, it feels too strict and stringent. The reality is teardowns can look all different types of ways. Whereas, to your point, like, the teardown really is going from Pollard to Kyron. But the reality of this trade and how it went down was you were talking about Pollard in London, and Kyren was the piece that was added on, right, to the deal. But if you get me in best ball, like, okay, I want to make sure this part's clear. If this is not Kyren Williams and this is Gus Edwards, Mike, what are we doing?
A lot grosser.
Sure. Now, and the reason I'm trying to establish a line of like, it doesn't have to be as high as Kyren Williams, but there are certain numbers I want to stay away from. Like, you get down to running back, 35, 40-ish type thing. Yeah, I might struggle a little more taking that running back. But this is a top 20 running back right now until otherwise noted. So if you look at it this way too, will Tony Pollard beat Kyren Williams in points per game this year? Probably. Is it a certainty? No. Here's the other thing. If you have either one of these guys get hurt, who has something left? You.
The crazy thing, we're talking best ball, right? So you capture every bit of warp. I don't need to look at a warp. As long as they were on a roster, which it's deep enough, all these dudes are on a roster, obviously. But
yeah,
number 2 running back in warp right now, Kyren Williams. I'm just saying, as of right now, is it actually a down tier?
Well, the best down tiers, Mike, are the ones that someone is sold on a down tier. And, that's nice that you got your Tony Pollard, man. I'm nice. Happy for you. Thanks for taking him from me. All right, man. Let's get to a cookie cutter league. Philly Wiz without James Cook, C.J. Stroud, and a 24th third for Burrow in a second. You want to talk about coming on the trade show and just popping it off. This is no cookie cutter trade, I'll tell you that. 12-team Superflex, PPR, full tight end premium, lineup start 10.
I could tell you, regardless of format, one side won and one side lost.
What do you got?
It's the Cook, C.J. Stroud in the third side. No question about it.
I think, man, you know what's kind of crazy about this trade? Now, you're going to say, Adam, there's so much that's bigger than this, but you know how many times it is that I've seen a trade where someone is getting their second back but sending away their third? Almost never.
Yeah.
It's like antithetical. It's like very, very odd.
I need my second back because I'm tanking.
But here, you can have my third.
You can have that 301.
Very, very odd. Well, anyway.
It's a little weird.
I will say this. In a lineup start 10, Joe Burrow is probably attainable for one of the very few times he'll be in the however long his career is, right?
And for right now, he's also a very big detriment to you in a lineup start 10.
Well, he is for what you expected. For what you expected out of him, right?
I'm just to be blunt, because he's literally a negative A WARP player. He's literally costing you wins.
Well, because why? It's the same reason. You know what's funny is it, Mike? That was my next one. There's a parallel here. Joe Burrow refuses to not go out there, and you refuse to keep putting him in your lineup. It's the same fucking hard-headedness, right? But Burrow for this year, is it possible he gets a little more healthy and plays better at the end of the year? Sure. Is there a guarantee of that? Fuck no, honestly, if we're being completely honest.
No.
He may be a struggle all season. C.J. Stroud has looked awesome through 4 weeks. I don't know his staying power up here yet, but if you're going to get James Cook, and the difference I'm losing is a second to a third, and you have this year where C.J. Stroud looks like he's going to be better for a contending piece, and he's young, man, I would have never thought in a million years. If you showed me this trade, Mike, in week 1 or in the start of the summer, we are going crazy, talking our cash about this trade.
That's all you got. You teared down from Joe Burrow. You went down to Stroud. All you got was Cook back in the third, and you had to give up a second. It's horrible.
I'll give you a I'll put a little onions on this for you here, Philly Wiz. A little spicy on it. I think what's great about this trade in particular is a lot of times if you're getting off of Burrow right now, you're not finding the trade you want, because if you're going to get off of an elite piece like Burrow, you're wanting to make sure you get points. And how many guys are willing to get off of quarterbacks that give you points and also give you long-term upside too? I think this is well done given the circumstances.
C.J. Stroud and Joe Burrow on keep trade cut as of right now are literally tied. Well, for all intents and purposes. They're separated by 18 fucking points, Adam. 18 points on keep trade cut.
They can miss me
10,000.
They can miss me with that. I don't think they're fucking the same. But to your point, there's a ton of hype, and they're going like this right now, right?
Mm-hmm. And you got James Cook for and a third for a second.
The great part, too, about that little third getting in there is, like, you maybe could buy some kind of a quarterback at some point, you know?
Damn phone all the time.
Always, man. Always, you know? Always.
Damn phone.
Damn phone. You could get a third to get a running back spot start again. So, like, that second to a third difference in this league, could you buy a better piece with that second? Sure. Could you buy a spot start from a third or add another third to this? Absolutely. You can have this second here.
Yep.
I'll take the third. It gives me not quite as much flexibility, but damn near the same. So I like it. Any other thoughts on this one?
Just another win for Philly cheesesteaks, baby.
R.I.P. Joe R's. R.I.P. All right, Mike. 12 teams, Superflex, half PPR.
Definitely screenshotted from the website. You can always tell how gross it looks.
I like these ones. You know, it's like let's completely mutilate their faces here. 12-team Superflex half PPR lineup start 9. Lineup start 11. 4-point passing touchdowns. American cream pie. A-Rich for Joe Burrow, straight up.
Oh boy.
Let's go a little further. Let's keep the rookie QB for Burrow talk alive.
Sure.
Let's go straight up for A-Rich. What are you doing?
I think I'm still on the Joe Burrow side, but I definitely see where people would be on Anthony Richardson. And 4-point passing touchdown also, if that's like the thing that you want to kind of throw it as the over the top. Sure. And if we're talking from a point standpoint right now, if you're competing, you move within tiers or, you know, slightly down a tier, I guess, if you're in my case where I still have Joe Burrow above A-Rich.
Mm-hmm.
But you get the production right now. And you know it's like here because he's healthy and playing and scoring rushing touchdowns left and right and leading massive comebacks.
Yep.
You can't argue with this one. If I'm on the other side of it, I guess it would really just kind of depend on where my team is. You know, this would also be something I would be exploring if I was an Anthony Richardson or CJ Stroud because they're both carrying an incredible value. But if I'm not actually competing at them, I'm 1-3, 0-4. Like the season didn't go the way I wanted it to so well.
Mm-hmm.
This ain't a bad move for me to also go, well, let me just hit the reset. And I got a rookie that's popping off in one of these guys. And both of these guys, I think we could have the conversation with about staying power. You know, they've done really good things, but we also see that the fantasy space is pretty fickle. Everybody loved Fields at the end of last year. And now you see everybody hates Justin Fields. So, like, things change very quickly. The one thing I'm probably most sure about is Joe Burrow will eventually go back to being elite Joe Burrow territory because it's one of the most efficient quarterbacks I think we've ever seen with a weapon like Jamar Chase. And it remains to be seen if T. Higgins was going to be there. But if they're this bad all year, who's to say that they're not in a position to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. to pair with, Jamar Chase? Or they get a weapon like Brock Bowers at the top of the draft, and all of a sudden we're right back fucking in. So if I was in a tanking position or not competing, I think I would be exploring, like, can I actually flip 1-for-1 an A-Rich or CJ Stroud for Joe Burrow? That's just me personally. And then if I'm on the competing side, this is a reasonable move to make if you're getting AR because you want the production and you want it now.
Yeah, if you know, you know. I mean, if you thought Jamar Chase is always open now, wait till Marvin Harrison's on the other side. Boy, will always be fucking open, man.
That would set up the ultimate debate in the offseason, too, about who's the alpha of the offense.
You imagine, though, if we have, like, people are going to have this debate, right? Like, he comes in, and is it Chase or is it Harrison Jr.? Well, here, they're on the same fucking team. How's that? Who you got?
Right.
I'll tell you what, this one here is very interesting. I want to go back to a point you made, and I think this is going to – the offseason's so long. We do so much work in the offseason, right? And it's amazing how narratives – what I hate about the offseason, Mike, in a way, is that the narratives that I have strong pushback on, you can't fucking do anything because it just stays and it sits and it's like a – you know, it's a must. It lingers. There's no way to get it out. And I was told, Mike, you know how many times I was told that this quarterback class isn't going to matter in fantasy football?
Right. Everybody
you
was
see
still
me?
scoring.
I'm looking,
20,
and I want
22.
y'all to do something with me. Pour something out. Pour something out for the fucking hate. I hate when people do this. Why? Why was CJ Stroud so vanilla, so basic, so pumpkin spice latte? Why? because he's a great passer. He's very accurate. Like, why? We saw him rush versus Georgia when he needed to. Like, I hate this narrative sometimes of guys we know for sure that guys have no ceiling. You know, especially when they have draft capital attached, which both Anthony Richardson and C.J. Stroud do. It's amazing because you would have told nobody would have in their mind said 4 weeks in you'd be able to trade 1-for-1 A-Rich for Burrow. You'd be able to trade C.J. Stroud and James Cook and go get Joe Burrow. So those things happen. I think here, Mike, I'll be honest. I don't know if I'm taking Joe Burrow on 1-for-1 unless I'm trying to lose. Like, I think he's going to be the better play long term. But if I'm trying to win in any capacity, I'm not taking Burrow on. Now, if I'm trying to lose, if I'm rebuilding, I would love to take Burrow on here because he gets A-Rich's points off, and I think he's going to be the better play long term. But for right now this season, I think I would rather have Anthony Richardson for sure. Now, long-term dynasty, I want Burrow still.
This could be an interesting one with AR too, because there's things about it where you look at it and you go, like, I could make a negative case against Anthony Richardson pretty quickly, at least from being an NFL quarterback, where you say, like, the value probably isn't stable, right? His passing metrics aren't that great, right, as far as money throws, completion percentage, right, air yards, like, none of this stuff. But then you also think, well, he's getting a weapon back here, possibly this week in Jonathan Taylor, one of the best running backs in the league. I mean, this offense could have way more opportunities as far as not just having to throw, bubble screens to Michael Pittman and Josh Downs and not being able to push the ball down the field. Like, we have a lot more red zone opportunities, and you're talking about the guy who's leading the league in red zone carries as far from the quarterback position and also leading the league in touchdowns. So from just a fantasy points perspective, like, for the next 5, 6, 7 weeks, unless Joe Burrow gets healthy miraculously and this offense really turns around, this could be the much better fantasy quarterback. So,
and that's you brought up some really good points there. And I think, though, I do want to make sure this is clear. I don't, as much as I love A-Rich, I don't think that I'm not sitting here and telling you I want him ahead of Burrow in Dynasty, like in a long-term vacuum. Mm-hmm. But I think for would I be able to trade 1-for-1 Joe Burrow, I don't even know you can get this done in most leagues right now, just because teams are looking to win currently. Like, that's the hard part about trading off of Burrow is because you also don't really want to give up Burrow. Burrow's such a hard asset to acquire, right? So you're only going to do it for a handful of guys. Like right now, Mike, if you were in this situation, let's play a game. You have Joe Burrow, you have a really good team, and to compete, you want to see if you can get off of them. Like a 1-for-1 trade, this list is going to be short. Who would you take?
1-for-1 straight up for Joe Burrow?
Yeah.
Well, AR is on it. C.J. Stroud is on it.
Okay.
Justin Herbert, definitely.
Yep, with you. So you got those three, unless you can go up, right? Unless you can get Hurts or Allen or Mahomes, which ain't happening.
I mean, you could probably put a Trevor Lawrence in there if you want as well, but that's pretty much end of list. Even
then, Mike, so let's all assume that you can't trade up with Burrow, right? So Hurts, Allen, and Mahomes ain't happening. Okay, so that gives you Herbert 1, Burrow 2, C.J. Stroud 3, Lawrence, you said 4. Would you do it for Lamar?
Yeah, I forgot about Lamar. Let's say,
so you're saying right now, just 1-for-1, there's 5 quarterbacks you'd entertain.
Yeah.
Like, if you're trying to get off of Burrow and stay in a very elite category, it's hard to do. Elite quarterbacks don't grow on trees, is my point.
I would go out and explore it, but also if I'm holding C.J. Stroud or Anthony Richardson, conversely, if you're listening to this, some actionable advice, you're not competing, you want to look long-term dynasty, go out. At the worst case, Adam, I think you can get it done 1-for-1, and if you can't, if you can, maybe you tax him a little bit. Yeah. Throw in a second or a third, or who gives a shit? Like, just get something on top. I'm telling you, if I was in a tanking team right now, rebuilding or a failed contender with Joe Burrow or with Anthony Richardson or C.J. Stroud, I'm going to go out and try to actively acquire Joe Burrow from them.
I was going to say that's the other point, Stroud, for sure.
And see if I can get anything on top. Even if I can, I'm like, this is like a pre-made ATM trade, right? Like, I send it out, and if it comes back with a counter straight up, cool. All right, we're done. That was easy.
I like that. Closed mouths don't get fed. You tried, and you'll take that even one. I do agree with that point. If you are in a position to acquire Joe Burrow, gosh, yeah, do it because
it's like twofold beneficial, right? Like you're probably not scoring a lot of fantasy points with Joe Burrow on your team. Best ball or lineup doesn't really matter. You can throw him into your lineup every single week and enjoy the 6 points you get or whatever the hell it is. That's another way of tanking. But even in a best ball league, you probably ain't making your Superflex spot very often. And if he does, it's such a low warp number. Who gives a shit, right?
Yep.
So you get to tank, and then you're just setting yourself up in 2024. Here we go. We come back, and now he's healthy, and maybe they figured out some of the shit with the offensive line, and they're kind of ready to roll. And you kind of de-risk yourself a little bit too, right? Because both AR, no matter how good he is right now, and I think he's really good, but we can also agree that it could go south in a hurry for him, and the same thing for CJ Stroud, right? But I think it's a good trade on the surface. It's just an interesting one to talk about. And I do agree with you, Adam. If I'm sitting there as a contender holding Joe Burrow, like I kind of hope that people are still like willing to take the other side. But I'm with you. I imagine more times than not, there's going to be a lot of people going, hell no, man. AR, look what he's doing. I ain't trading you straight up for Joe B. I'm saying that people should be more open to it, but it is what it is.
Amazing to me too, Mike, that Keep Trade Cut still has Bijan ahead of A-Rich in a different tier.
Ahead of A-Rich in a different tier, huh?
He's in a tier with Justin Herbert. For those
it was those Toy Story juke moves last Sunday that did it, though.
I'll tell you one thing, man. I love me some Bijan, but if that's anywhere near true, I'm trying to sell him. Anyway, Puka, man, Puka and A-Chain now. This is a nice little interesting fucking trade show today, man. We got some good deals in here.
Puka
and A-Chain straight up, essentially. There's a 24 third and 24-4 swap. I want the third in that swap, obviously, but I ain't going to let it be the reason I probably switch this trade off. But I'm curious, your thoughts here, Mike. 12-team Superflex PPR lineup start 10. Dynasty versions. Who you got?
H-Head. It's H-Head.
H-Chan. You got H-Chan?
I got H-Chan.
Okay. I mean, you're getting the third there. I'd obviously would much rather have a third and a fourth. Full PPR league, man.
Take all that out.
Yeah, together. I mean, I'm thinking realistically in full PPR and cross position here because these guys are both rapidly rising so fast in every single week. Okay, so here becomes the question for me. All right, to really talk about this trade. What do we think of Puka's long-term staying power?
That is probably the question, right?
Because to me, that's everything about this. Because I think Puka's smashing in points per game. So is A-Chan. Now, if you told me in general, though, I think the wide receiver is the way I would lean in a lineup start 10 because the running backs I can typically replace back and forth, right? I just showed you, though, in my first trade today that A-Chan's one of these running backs that I want to bet on because he's so spiky, if you want to call it that. Whew, dude, this one's freaking close and tough, man. I think this comes down to Puka's long-term ability. Like, if you think he's long-term, I would take Puka. If you're worried he's not going to be, I think I would make the pivot to A-Chan.
I can tell you the difference between the two, even in a PPR league, an A-WAR per game. It's not that great.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? It's not that great. You're talking best ball, right? If you had Puka or A-Chan, like Puka's been the much bigger warp player for you. But lineup, when you have to make a decision on when to start them, they both had big games when most people didn't put them in their lineups, right? The difference is Puka's had, 2 games now where he's been in your lineup? He had one kind of okay game, and then he had this last one where it was actually pretty good. A-Chan, his second one, when everybody put him in his lineup, was also a very elite game, right?
Yeah.
Elevated him up to A-WAR per game as the number 4 running back already. So.
Sure. But I think now, though, like if I'm past that, if I'm just acquiring Puka now, I'm kind of dismissing a little bit of that because there's no way you're not putting Puka in your lineup weekly until
right.
I mean, it would have to take several down weeks for me not to put him in my lineup.
For what it's worth, too, it is an IDP league, so the thirds
bump up a touch. I'm gonna go with process here. I'm gonna take Puka. I'm gonna believe that he is to stay as a top 20 wide receiver, and that I will just take the process of I'm going to lean more into the wide receiver position, get my stable there. It does suck to sell Achane. Like, there's not a side of this where I feel good. I don't want to lose Puka, and I don't want to lose Achane, if I'm being completely honest. But in the process play, I'll take the receiver, and I'll try to go buy back a running back who will not be Achane. Let's just call it what it is. You're not going to go find another one of those out there. It's not coming, but I'll take the process play of the receiver. This one's close, though, man.
I love Achane so much, man. Like, I got to get a jersey.
I just traded for him. This is probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do on the trade show. I just traded for the guy that I say I want the other side of right now. Damn it.
I got to get a jersey, and I know I'll probably spend $150 on it or whatever, and then he'll change his number next year, to like some single digit because it looks cooler. Then it'll just be ruined forever. At least I could say I was like the OG. I don't think he probably has a problem in the Dolphin store like Josh Dobbs where they don't have his jersey.
You know what you do, though?
He's got that problem.
You play it off as, listen, I bought this back when everyone thought he was Achane. All right, that was Achane. So this is an OG one, man. This is a retro deal.
Love
all
it.
Right, Dynasty version. I like Pasta side, but I thought it was a pretty good deal. Okay, Shit Boredom is back. The base Shaboba and Chill Will. Cousins or a 24 first and second in a best ball league, Mike?
I do know Chill Will's tanking in this league, or attempting to, or rebuilding, or productive struggle, whatever you want it. He asked me about it just in DMs. He had already made the trade, but what did you think about it? Well, I'll tell you right now, here on the trade show, what I thought about it is a good deal for both sides.
Great.
Right? Like, how much more are you getting for Kirk Cousins than this in a best ball league that start 11?
You ain't. Because to get more than this, it's going to require a third piece, which is going to be a non-starter for a lot of people, right?
Yep. And then if you're buying, a quarterback to help boost yourself, like Shaboba in this league, to try to really compete with the elite team that is Team McNutted, there's a price you got to pay to go get one, right? A difference maker in the league, especially with the scoring. Kirk Cousins is actually a difference maker in the league, a warped difference maker. So first and a second, that's probably what the price is going to cost. Gotta go for it.
Yeah, and I think too, I'll make this point about it. I think it's a great trade as far as like both sides getting probably what they're looking for. The big thing I think here, if you play in a lot of lineup leagues and you say this and you're like, man, I don't want to spend a first on Cousins. Like, it's not that I don't think Cousins is good this year. Like, if I'm going to spend my first and stuff, I want to get more security at quarterback. Well, I'm a lot more willing to forego even that long-term security, even in lineup leagues. But I get what your point is. In best ball, they'll think about it this way. If you could add Kirk Cousins to what you already have at quarterback and only have him in your lineup when you know he's going to be basically not playing on prime time, right? When you're going to only have him go in when it's good Kirk Cousins. That should add at least a second, because a lot of times you think in best ball it would cost less, but I think the way that you structure your team, it almost makes me a little more comfortable with buying Kirk Cousins higher, given as long as I've rostered appropriately. Like if you have a right quarterback room and you add Cousins to it, man, I think it's a good deal though, because if you're in a rebuild, right, how much longer do you feel comfortable in keeping Cousins' value? Like, you want to hold him all year, get all those points, and then next year, like, the price probably comes down again. So I'll take it first in a second.
And surprisingly, there's not a whole lot of teams like fighting for picks. Like, not a lot of the top contenders, because this was a startup that was done, maybe a month or so before the actual season.
Right.
Not a lot of the top contenders actually are sitting out there, without their first round picks, and there's not a big fight for all the picks at the bottom yet. So, if you can kind of get first to the party, right, and just, hey, I'm open for business. Not only am I gonna, run this thing right into the ground and hit the tankathon, but there's plenty of picks out there for me to gobble up. And you make a deal like this, maybe someone like me who's got a contending team sitting there is going,
yep,
Chill Will, you open for business, buddy?
Yeah. I know a lot of people like
what else you got?
It's a polarizing discussion right now. I think it's only going to get worse. I think as Dynasty grows, you're going to, meaning that people are playing in more leagues and more people are coming over. You just saw a Dynasty version, right? As you get more people playing, I think that there's going to be more chatter. And it is what it is, and it has a lot of toxicity at times. But there's a lot of discussion on, is your league too stale and this and that? And I think sometimes, like, people innately are not, they don't love change, right? And sometimes in a situation where nobody is one making the first move, getting that deal done. We've talked about this in the offseason. I think sometimes still in the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
That can be something that, hey, get the first trade out there. It's like, oh, shit. Shabba got Cousins? All right, what do I do, right? How do I compete? Sometimes you got to do that to get the league activity up. So
yep.
I like that trade. I think it's good for both sides, too. All right, Mike. Scooter McGavin, 19, and B. Hall, 7. So we got Roshan, Hollywood, and a 24 first. B. Hall sending away his own first for Goff, Jeff Wilson, and a second. Lineup start 10. What do you got?
You're getting a quarterback here. We could kind of put Cousins and Goff in the same category, right? Just from the previous trade we were talking about. Like, I think a first is a little light for Jared Goff. So if I had to choose between the two, if I'm competing in the lineup start 10, like Goff is a pretty damn good Superflex quarterback to have. Like pretty solid and stable. Hopefully you got like one of those big time hammers, whether that's an AR, whether that's Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, like those types, Lamar Jackson. But Goff is very reasonable for your Superflex spot.
Yeah.
If that's the case, you're upgrading the shit out of that. Goff for the first, Goff, no question about it. Trading away Hollywood hurts a little bit. Start 10 makes it a little bit more palatable because he's more of a wide receiver 3 type that you kind of want to start there.
Mm-hmm.
You get a second back. I don't really know where that second projects just yet. And then Jeff Wilson for Roshan. I mean, what we saw last week for Roshan, we had a lot of hype, but like it's still not here, right? It's so far the Bears have just been like, here we go. We'll tease you. We'll make you think, Bears running backs, even though they haven't been producing, look, Roshan's really catching up on snap percentage, and he's about to overtake him, and it'll be his show soon. And then they just kick you right in the fucking teeth last week and go, nah, right. It's Khalil Herbert, bro. So
sorry, buddy.
Roshan and Jeff Wilson at this point, like, who really gives a shit in the start 10? It's just a running back at this point. So you can just pull that shit out.
They're running backs that are hoping for opportunity later, right?
I would say this. I think you got a deal on the Goff for the first part, and depending on where that second is, like, I think it's reasonable for me just to say, yeah, here you go. You can have Hollywood, and I'll go see if I can't find another receiver for the second. Maybe somebody will sell me a Jacoby Myers for that second and Jeff Wilson or some shit like that.
Yeah, I like that. I'm looking right now at the table just trying to see. I think, what's crazy about this one is I really would need to know, Mike, I don't know if you have the simulator, if you want to pull it up. I'm kind of curious because we are 4 weeks in, like how good B. Hall's team is. Now, this will still be an exception to that anyway, but I was curious, like, if we know how good his team is built in record. We don't know the record, but how well it's built.
She's running.
Dude, this is such an easy sign me up, man. This is such an easy sign me up because lineup start 9 and 10s. Dude, I have not played in a format of lineup start 9 or start 10 that, forget warp for a second, is not run and market by quarterbacks.
Right.
So, like, it's just, listen, I think Hollywood's an okay little player. And, like, in best ball, I love having Hollywood actually right now, right? Lineup, I really don't love having myself a Hollywood share. He would definitely fit into my build, though, right? He's a part of my roster construction, however many receivers you need to have. I'll happily lose one of those guys, though, Mike, if I can lock down a top 15 type quarterback. Like, just, it's too easy. Because here's the crazy part. I get the second back, too. Mike, if you tell me you'd rather
middle
have
of the road. Like, it's a middle of the road second.
For sure. But you can take that second and attach it to something to pretty much go buy a spot start somewhere pretty nicely. I mean,
B. Hall's team's the number one in the simulator for the rest of the year. The other guy's kind of in the middle to the bottom half.
Okay, there you go. So then you dude, this is a perfect fitting point. So, like, if you're going to be trying to get off of Goff in a rebuild, I guess you maybe want that first. But, Mike, in these type of leagues, it is so hard to send a first that everyone's projecting to be the best team in the league and get back a quarterback for it.
Right.
Like, I'll take B. Hall's side here, man.
Yep. I'm with it. It's easily.
Whew. All right. Marvin Mims or Darnell Mooney in a 24 second. Start 12, 2 tight end league. It's a best ball league. So it's 12 team, 2 quarterback, PPR, best ball start 12.
This is Darnell Mooney in the second.
Yeah.
No question about it. Easy.
This is a process play versus T-Rock, Get all damn excited again.
I wish he put as much thought into his trades as he does his articles, right?
His
articles are so well written. He does such a great job, and then he comes out and he makes a dog shit move like this.
Can I tell you, dude, it's so funny. T-Rock is, speaking of dog shit, so that's where my story is going to be, Mike. He reminds me a lot in this part of the year. So when I was growing up, we had a little Maltese dog, all right? And someone come in the house, you'd hear, or ring the doorbell, knock on the door, and he talking about little barking and running to the door, right? Like sprinting to it. And as soon as you get in the door, motherfucker just start humping your leg, like relentlessly, right? He gets all excited, might piss himself. Like, it's all excited early in the year. Why are you burning your second on Marvin Mims when you have to add Mooney to it?
Don't know.
Like, I know Mooney's, at this point, you're probably like, Mooney stinks. I'm not saying that he's like some great asset in Dynasty, but
the thing I can tell you is he plays more snaps than Marvin Mims does.
Well, and I mean, 1 for 1, I'll take Mims. But here's the thing: like, I don't want to, in a league like this shit auction, Mike, where it's like 35 roster spots. I don't want to attach pieces that. Listen, the crazy part about Mooney, even still, is he could have all these dog shit weeks, right? But would anyone be surprised if he ended up having 2 long touchdowns 1 week? No, fuck no.
So let me just throw this out there because I think it's a funny stat. You know, not that the Bears' offense is great, and you know, the Broncos have been okay. Like, they've been surprisingly okay. But Marvin Mims total on the season has run 38 routes at him. Darnell Mooney in week 1 ran 40. Just like in 1 week, Darnell Mooney ran more routes than Marvin Mims has for the entire fucking season so far. So
that's funny.
I'm not saying crazy. Marvin Mims can't get better of the long-term play, but it's like, dude, I'm not taking a second throwing it on there at all. If I wanted to sell somebody on I think Mims is better than Mooney, I don't think the difference is a second at all. In a best ball league, especially.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, as far as adding stuff in on trades, like, I don't know. I know he hasn't done shit and the offense doesn't project well, but if he only gave me 2 or 3 weeks, like, that's the 2 or 3 weeks I want him. So maybe I'm nitpicking, man. I don't want to give Darnell Mooney away in this trade.
You're not nitpicking. I saw that trade come across and I was like, whoa,
that's
T-Rack. Come on, man. You're part of the team now, buddy.
I tried to go back in time. I couldn't do it. I need to get these trades off my screen, Mike. That T-Rock one's making me want to puke. It's amazing. I'm like, you know, we're here, man. We are here. We'll help you, right? Last trade. Castle Black and Pasta, Mike.
Okay.
12 team, 2 quarterback PPR. It's a 0.75 tight end premium. Best ball start 13. This is shit 4. So deep. Travis Kelce and Dalvin Cook, or a 25 first and Pittman.
And this might be what you have to pay to get Travis Kelce, like that elite hammer at the tight end, right? It might be Michael Pittman and 25 first.
Yep.
I think I would actually prefer Pittman in the 25 first, but the 0.75 tight end premium does kind of like go, okay.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce really does matter in this league.
Yeah. Like, dude, dynasty value-wise, you know, it's a lot. But, dude, it's I'll talk about this again. It's really hard to acquire Kelce a lot of times, man. The one thing I'll say conversely, though, is if you're trying to get off of Kelce, you never seem to get what you're trying to get either. Right? It's like a song. It's like a song and dance. If you're the guy trying to go buy Kelce, he's never cheap. And then it's like, if I have to sell him, I don't get these prices. It's like, what is this?
It's like, I wish I could sell Travis Kelce for this.
Like, I'll be honest. I would sell Travis Kelce like this a lot. The one other piece is, I'll say this, and Castle Black, I think this is a trade where it could very well make sense for you. The other thing to remember, though, is, all right, you got Kelce. I mean, you know, you're like Kelce in a situation. You shot your shot. You finally got it. But what was the cost of acquisition opportunity, Mike? Like, what can 25 first and Pittman go buy you somewhere else?
Right.
That's the only hesitation I have with it.
Eric and I just did America's Game podcast, so we're recording this on Thursday. But America's Game podcast came out today, and we're talking about best ball. Like, what are you doing if your team's looking good in the early part of the season? We talked a little bit about the AMA last night too. That, like, I'll push my first in for sure, but I generally want to go get like 2 pieces, 3 pieces.
Yeah.
Like, I really want to backfill with the depth. We're a best ball start 13, Adam, and I know it's a league that it's a shit league. I set this thing up. There's at least 35 roster spots. Right?
Minimum.
The waivers, like the top waiver ad this week might have been Connor fucking Hayward. Like that's the dude those are the type of players that are floating around on waivers. So
Right.
depth is ridiculously important to have, not only because we're starting so many, but because you don't have options of just plucking some guy off the waivers who's going to be a spot starter or fill-in. Like that's a 1% chance. That's you picking up a Trenton Irwin.
Yeah.
Just randomly in the playoffs.
Right.
Like,
I mean,
that don't come along every week, man. It's very rare. So
and you kind of hope when it gets to the playoffs that like some of those shitters start actually getting chances because there's just more and more bodies piling up. But man, I'll tell you what, man. I think I'm gonna take the first in the Pittman side. I understand what Castle Black's doing. By the way, I'm not dunking on Castle Black's trade. I'm not even saying you don't make a trade like this sometimes when you need a Kelce. I don't know, Mike. I'm kind of feeling like I'm out of the Dalvin Cook business. Is that fair? Like, where are you at with Dalvin Cook? I feel like
is dust.
This is now just a name.
Buddy, I don't know if I'd pay a third for him even in a best ball league.
Mm-hmm.
That's just kind of where you're at with him. That's how kind of gross it is. I just wanted to pull up shit for here because Sleeper, if you ever watch this or anybody works for Sleeper, please get the website working so we can view our best ball leagues. I know you promised it.
We would love that.
October of 2021, and it's 2 years later.
I'll tell you what. But you know what? Here, since my phone rang and I don't know how to fucking turn that ringer off.
Really
my phone's silenced, but that thing will ring when I'm on here. Since that happened, Mike, and you took a little Mac shot, I'll pull it up on my Sleeper app because we have a Sleeper app on Mac.
Oh, aren't you fancy?
Yeah.
But yeah, Castle Black's third in the league, and Pasta's kind of middle of the pack.
Yeah.
Right. So,
I mean, it's listen. I will say this: if you are making this trade for Kelce, you better be fucking built right.
Yeah.
But if you are built right, like it's a little expensive, but at the same time, if you need to lock down a tight end in this format, I can understand it, right?
He does get the Patrick Mahomes Kelce stack, so he does have Mahomes on his team.
That's actually added. That makes it a little more palatable too. You get that stack going, but the thing is too, with that, the 0.75 tight end premium, right, is the last point I'll make about this. Mm-hmm. This is right where you start having a conversation, like where the tight end premium begins to hammer it home for Warp if you are one of the elite ones. So it's on the fence.
No real 24 picks, no real 25 picks now. Adam, the one thing I will say too that, I gave him a little props with the Mahomes Kelce stack where you go, okay, Adam, we got to start out of the start 13. You got to start 4 wide receivers in this league.
Yeah,
4.
Giving up Pittman's tough in that one.
4, right? And right now he's got Diggs, which is awesome. But the sleeper projected wide receivers in the lineup for this week are Robert Woods, Kendrick Bourne, and Isaiah Hodgins. No wide receivers make the flex, and the next listed one on here would be Deontay Hardy of Buffalo. So, just saying.
Better go find those Trent Irwoods, Castle Black. You're going to need them.
I mean, he's got Keenan Allen tied the locket on by, so it's not like the end-all be-all. He had a decently constructed team. It's really hard to give up wide receivers when you got to start 4 of those guys.
Yeah, I will say that about best ball too. It's a thing to keep in mind. Three things I'll say quickly on that. Like the actual starting spots. So if you have 10, 12, let's say, make sure you're paying attention to how many are flexes versus if you have any leagues that are 3 running backs. Okay, that's similar to the 4 receivers. If you have to have that many specific positions, it's going to increase the market at some point. And if that's not the case, you should be taking advantage of that. And then the third and final thing will be make sure you're paying attention to how many spots you have on your bench total. Right. So how many roster spots in general. One of the parts that, if you're listening to this, you're newer to best ball, we talk all the time. Mike's the tear down king. We tear down every chance we get, man. I can almost never tear down enough, given that there's enough roster spots. Some of these shallower leagues, you may have to pump the brakes a little bit. Let's say it's 25 or less. But by and large, most dynasty leagues that you have enough spots, just tear down until you can't anymore. And that's never.
The other thing, too, like the warp tool, even in season warp, is so important. Adam, if you look back last year, Kelce had a historic year. He was still like the 4th player in Warp in a .75. Right? Oh, he was even worse, actually. Let me take that back. He was not the number 4. He was the number 6 player. Right?
Wow.
Had a historic year. This year for tight ends, TJ Hawkins is having a great year. Like, doesn't even make the top 20.
Wow.
It doesn't even make top 30. So far for tight ends, at least for this league, for Warp, not that great. Wide receivers carrying the day, probably because we got to start 4 of them, even in a best ball league, which is a shit ton of wide receivers. So the Warp advantage of the wide receivers have been ridiculously high.
Yeah, Mike, that's a good point, because it seems like Travis Kelce might have his head somewhere else. I don't know. It seems like anyway,
He's playing okay. Don't do that shit.
Come on, people love to hear it. They can't get enough of this shit. It drives me crazy. I want to be done hearing it.
I see the cover photo for D-Rose, the primer this week, which just dropped on X, is literally Taylor Swift.
Nice. Speaking of sleeper, you didn't give us a chance to have our best ball, that we can look at on PC, but I did see that you updated Travis Kelce's profile picture, so that's always nice.
That's very nice.
but honestly, man, this was a good trade show. Mike, this might have been the first time where, like, those were all outside of the Marvin Mims, when T-Rock comes on the trade show. Those were all bangers. Like, those were all big boy, big pay-up type trades, and there's big pieces, polarizing pieces. Not very often we get Joe Burrow on 2 trades. We get 2, soaring high rookie quarterbacks. We get A-Chain all in there. I don't know who makes the thumbnail. I think it has to be A-Chain, though.
I don't know. I feel like we've done so many A-Chain thumbnails here lately. Recap shows, AMAs.
Well, which one would you rather me repeat then? A-Rich or Puka? Or do we go somewhere else? Was there another one in there?
Man.
I'll find it. We'll find it. But
can we get a sad Joe Burrow one?
Maybe I might be able to find a way to do that. Yeah, I like that one. I like the idea. I'm not going to.
We don't always have to be rosy. Sometimes we can get sad.
Oh yeah.
Depressing.
I'm not going to commit to it, but if I can make it look right, I think. We're recording this on Thursday. It's got to be ready by Saturday. So, depending on how we can touch up the like, if I'm going to do it, man, I want to lean into it. Like, I want Burrow really looking sad and dopey, a little. Maybe add in a little crying to it. I like.
We can just replace that cigar that he's always smoking with a big fat L.
I'll tell you what, man. He's a Bengal. I don't mind dunking in division. I can find a way to make that happen. We'll get Burrow on there. But if you do want your deals featured on this trade show, you got a banger you want to throw to us, go ahead. Yep. Patreon.com/South Harmon. $5 a month gets you into the tier where you'll need to be to get access to the trade show. Put your trades in there. Every single day you get, if you love stuff like this, right? Every single day you get to see in the trade show channel, because not all the trades make it on the show, but you get to see, like, that is as good of a place as Market Pulse. Now there's other places you can find trades, but every day you get to see real trades being made. Every day you can have discussions. Why'd you do this? What? Like, it's a growing community that's honestly a blast. So go take a look at that.
That trade advice channel is always filled with polls out the ass. So if you like voting on stuff, you think Keep Trade Cut's cool, go check out the trade advice channel.
And listen, you ever been like, up late at night or early in the morning, like, and you're like, got a question, but no one's gonna be around. There's no listen. Trade advice, there's always somebody around that will get to you. It's not always me, but it'll be somebody in there that will come answer your question or give you their fucking advice 24/7. So check that out.
If you like cardball,
we got a Rocket League channel in there. We got all kind of stuff, cardball, man.
I can't get on board.
I know I'm gonna get crushed in there because I don't know shit about it. So
that's all right. I just did backflips and shit all game. That's all I tried to do.
That sounds fun. I could do that. And then if you want to take a look at the Warp tool, see now that we have a lot more data. This is going to be something we start leaning into more and more as the data becomes more solidified for the year. Check that out. SouthHarmonFF.com. If you type /warp, it gives you straight to that channel. That's all that I got, really, man. Other than that, if you could go down, hit the like and subscribe if you're new to the channel, and comment away for the algo.
That's all I got too, man. Appreciate everybody tapping in. We'll see you back here, same time, same place next week for the Dynasty Trade Show. I'm out of here.
Peace.